Alright guys, welcome back. So, I have been debating whether or not to put these videos, because I want to start reacting to these videos and talking about this subject, but I haven't decided which of my two channels I want to put it on. Because, like, this is... and my other channel is... and it's just... I can't figure it out which one I want to do these on. But because my other channel, I'm doing something very specific with it right now, I just want to, like, test the waters with this. So... if you enjoy the content, please let me know. Like the video, comment on the video. Let me know if you want to see more content like this. This is content related to ancient civilization, prehistoric, pre-recorded man. The possibility that we were an advanced race until some catastrophic events, roughly, 12,000 to 13,000 years ago. But yeah, it's a very interesting topic. I love this topic so much. So if you enjoy it, let me know. And the link's going to be in the description below. This is After School, Graham Hancock, Who Would Survive the Collapse of Civilization. So actually, I guess this isn't pertaining to ancient civilization. Well, it says earth changes, megalithic architecture, all of that stuff. So yeah, let's get into it.
I've spent much of my working life exploring the controversial possibility of a forgotten episode in human prehistory, an advanced civilization of the Ice Age, as yet unrecognized by archaeologists, that collapsed and failed utterly during a global cataclysm some 12,000 years ago. I've often wondered what it must have felt like to be amongst the last citizens of that lost civilization with no choice, as chaos and darkness descended, but to stand by and watch as everything they'd created, their great prosperity, their cunning inventions, their hope for the future, and so much more, was reduced remorselessly to nothing. But now, looking around the world today, it occurs to me that we already know what it feels like. For what are we ourselves if not the citizens of an advanced civilization on the brink of collapse? Let that collapse come in a year, a decade, or a century. Let it be driven by forces of nature, or by human folly, or by both. The end result will be the same. When enough millennia have passed, and our descendants have invented civilization again after our fall into barbarism, I suspect they will look back on us with much the same ribald skepticism that we've been taught to view Atlantis. We will have become just a myth, just a story, mere pseudoscience, and certainly not true history. Several hundred myths concerning a global cataclysm and the loss of an advanced prehistoric civilization have come down to us from the remote past and from all parts of the world. These myths are eerily consistent on many points, and on one in particular. The cataclysm was not a random accident, we're told. We brought it upon ourselves by our own behavior. This may seem a nonsensical claim to those committed to the philosophy of scientific materialism, who see no cause and effect here, merely projection and fantasy on the part of the myth-makers. In summary, however, whether we react with scorn or choose to pay attention, the shared message of the myths is that our arrogance and our cruelty towards one another, our noise and strife, and the wickedness of our hearts angered the gods. We ceased to nurture spirit. We ceased to love and tend the earth, and no longer regarded the universe with reverent awe and wonder. Dazzled by our own success, we forgot how to carry our prosperity with moderation. So it was, Plato tells us, with the once generous and good citizens of the lost civilization of Atlantis, who in former times possessed a certain greatness of mind, and treated the vagaries of fortune and one another with wisdom and forbearance, but who became swollen with overweening pride in their own achievements and fell into crass materialism, greed, and violence. To the perceptive eye, the depth of their degeneration was clear enough, Plato writes, but to those whose judgment of true happiness is defective, they seemed, in their pursuit of unbridled ambition and power, to be at the height of their fame and fortune.
I love this video. I love After School just because they do these drawing graphics for whoever's speaking. But there's so much to this topic that you can talk about and it's not just Atlantis. If you look at Sodom and Gomorrah in the Bible, it I know that we call that word, but that wasn't actually the sin of Sodom, because if you look at the prophets, it tells you that the sins of Sodom were the same sins as Atlantis. They were just greedy and power hungry and bloodlusted, and because of that, they fell out of favor with God, and He destroyed the cities. And there's just so much to unpack when you're doing this subject. Let's go ahead and finish the video.
If ever a society could be said to meet all the mythological criteria of the next lost civilization, a society that ticks all the boxes, is it not obvious that it is our own? Our pollution and neglect of the majestic garden of the earth, our rape of its resources, our abuse of the oceans and the rainforests, our fear, hatred, and suspicion of one another, multiplied by 100 bitter regional and sectarian conflicts, our consistent track record of standing by and doing nothing while millions suffer, our ignorant, narrow-minded focus on skin color and other trivial physical differences, our forgetfulness that we are all brothers and sisters, our exclusivist religions, our bellicose chauvinism, the dreadful cruelties that we indulge in the name of nation or faith or simple greed, our obsessive, competitive, ego-driven production and consumption of material goods, and the growing conviction of many, fueled by the triumphs of materialist science, that matter is all there is, that there's no such thing as spirit, and that we are just accidents of chemistry and biology. All these things, and many more, in mythological terms at least, do not look good for us. Much as we may disbelieve in their gods, perhaps the time has come for us to listen to the broader message of the ancients. Perhaps the time has come to damp down our pride, douse the fires of our hatred with love, summon the courage to replace cruelty with kindness, embrace our shared humanity, stand once again in awe of the universe, and show gratitude for every gift that Mother Earth provides. Otherwise, who knows? Perhaps ours will be the next lost civilization.
If you live in one of the great technological cities of the modern world, you almost never see the stars. Light pollution cuts out the sky, severs our connection with the universe. But if you look down from a NASA satellite, you can see here, for example, northern Europe lit up like a golden string of jewels. But down here is the Sahara Desert, inhabited by hunter-gatherers. It's completely dark because there's no electricity there. And the Namibian Desert, again inhabited by hunter-gatherers, completely dark because there's no electricity there. This is often taken as a symbol of the technical advancement of the industrialized societies. But let's think about that a little bit. Go west, and there's North America, lit up like a string of jewels. But there's the Amazon jungle, completely dark because there's so little electricity there. And actually, in the state of Acre, in the southwestern Amazon, where those geoglyphs have recently been found due to clearances, there are still tribes who remain uncontacted by our civilization. They don't even know we exist. Goodness knows what they think when they see a helicopter circling overhead, taking photographs of them. They never knew about our culture before, and suddenly there's these strange beings in flying machines overhead. But we have to ask ourselves, who would survive if something like the Younger Dryas cataclysm were to happen again in our day? If those cosmic impacts were to strike the 21st century world, who would survive it? I do not believe that it would be the inhabitants of the advanced industrialized civilizations. We are the spoilt children of the earth. We are used to having everything at our fingertips. The supermarket shelves stuffed to overflowing with food, roofs over our heads, clothes on our backs. We can go anywhere in the world we like. We consider ourselves to be the masters of the universe. But you stop that food supply into the cities, and it's a just-in-time food supply right now. There's only 2 or 3 days food supply in any city. You stop that food supply into the cities, And I would suggest within a matter of weeks, our much vaunted civilization would begin to fall apart. The psychological trauma would be massive.
I would say it would take less than a week, less than 1 week for civilization to fall apart. If the food supply stopped, and like especially if electricity stopped too, like we had a Carrington event today, yeah, it would take less than a week for society to completely fall apart. I mean, completely.
People would not be prepared for it in any way, and very few of us, there are exceptions, but very few of us know anything about survival at all, because we depend entirely on a complex interrelated network of skills. Who would survive? Who would survive would be the hunter-gatherers in the Namibian deserts, in the Amazon rainforest, because they're in the business of survival. That's what they do every day. They are absolute masters of survival. They would weather such an incident with very little damage, and it would be they and their descendants who would carry forward the human story. And I like to imagine how it might be told 12,000 years from now, how there might be a myth that the archaeologists of that time would dismiss as complete nonsense. How there was a myth that told of a time when there was an advanced civilization on this planet. They were so advanced, they were almost gods. They had supernatural powers. You know, they could look at a little device and speak to one another, even see one another on opposite sides of the planet. They could fly around the earth. They could send people to the moon. But they became corrupt. They became cruel. They became conceited and big-headed. They ceased to wear their prosperity with moderation. They imposed their powers on other less powerful people around the world. And the universe wouldn't put up with that. The universe struck them down. It's our choice. Let's make sure we're not the next lost civilization.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of After School. In my view, this channel is doing
This guy is an incredibly intelligent person, by the way. I wish that I could just sit down in a room with him. Like, coffee in the morning, still having a beer at night. Just sit down with him for a day and just talk. Because I love this subject matter so much. I really do. And I'd love to talk to him specifically about the Younger Dryas. And everything that happened there. And if you enjoy this kind of content, please like the video and comment on the video. Let me know that you like this content, please, because we can make the whole channel about this content right here. Yeah, if you enjoyed, link's going to be in the description below. I love After School because they do all the artwork and everything. Head over, give them a sub, give the video a like while you're here. I'm not saying you have to, but if you are feeling generous, pressing that button under my face helps get the video out with the algorithm, and I would appreciate if you slap that big red button that says subscribe. Until next time, I love you all.